Attorney Mendoza, I would just like to ask you if what is the case on public lawyers or POW lawyers who molest their clients who are really needy?
So, in one case, in the case of De Leon versus Pedreña, this case involves acts of lasciviousness by a lawyer, which the court held that you can file an administrative case for disbarment against that lawyer because in this case, Attorney Pedriana's acts were not merely offensive and undesirable, but repulsive, disgraceful, and grossly immoral. So, immoral conduct is gross when it is so corrupt as to constitute a criminal act or so unprincipled as to be reprehensible to a high degree, or when it is committed under such scandalous or revolting circumstances. So the possession of good moral character is a condition precedent and a continuing requirement to warrant the admission in the practice of law. So a member of the bar is duty bound to observe the highest degree of morality and integrity in order to safeguard the reputation of the bar. So in this case, Attorney Pedriana, being a POW lawyer, his misconduct was aggravated by that public position. So he was mandated to provide a free legal service to indigent litigants, and by that fact, De Leon was his then client. He he should not have disregarded his oath as a public officer to serve others and to be accountable at all times. So he violated Canon 1, the lawyer's oath, and Canon 1.03 and 1.06.
Okay, thank you for that. On to the next case.
So, Attorney Oysterlin Osnal, what in one case, the issue of the court was whether or not the duties of the regional director of the CHR constitutes practice of law. What can you say about this case?
Okay. So in this case, Attorney Baliga said Attorney Baliga was suspended as in the practice of law, but he was also a regional director of the CHR. But when he was suspended, he was still he was still attending his duties as a regional director, and he contended that the suspension in the practice of law is different, or even though he was suspended from the practice of law, he can still be the regional director of the CHR kasi daw magkaiba. But the Commission on Human Rights is an independent office created under the Constitution with the power to investigate all forms of human rights violation involving civil and even the political rights. So in the CHR, there will be the regional offices, with each office having primary responsibility to investigate human rights. And also the functions of the office of the regional director of the CHR is that of the characteristics of the legal profession. So it cannot, so when Baliga was suspended, in the legal, in the practice of law, he should not be also doing the duties of a regional director in the CHR. So because the oaths and affirmations that will be conducted in the CHR are usually performed by members of the judiciary and notaries public officers who are necessarily members of the bar. So he cannot perform such function. So mali po yung contention ni Baliga.
Thank you.
Okay, so Attorney Henry, I have a question po. Can a labor arbiter be liable po if he is the reason why I cannot, or why a writ of execution cannot be executed?
Well, there was a case decided by the Supreme Court regarding that matter. So in this case, the labor arbiter delayed the creation of the writ of execution by archiving the case files of the of the re- uh, of the complainants. Although the complainants have already won the case, it was delayed due to this action of the labor arbiter. And by delaying this, the respondent company was able to change its name and contend that they are no longer liable to the decision. Hence the creation of what do you call, amendment to the writ of execution, to which the labor arbiter in this case has already also delayed. So in this case, the labor arbiter was found to be in violation of Rule 1.01 of the Code of Professional Conduct, to which it states that a lawyer should not about that. Can someone tell me what's Rule 101?
Okay, so in Rule 101, a lawyer shall not engage in any unlawful, deceitful, or immoral conduct.
Okay. So in that case, there is a clear neglect of the duty and the ignorance of the law by the labor arbiter. Furthermore, he also violated the lawyer's oath, to which he sworn that he shall delay no man for money or malice, to which he delayed the what do you call that, the petitioner's request. Hence, he was disbarred in this case. And that would be that case. Is there any more question on another case?
Okay, so in another case, in Natividad,
Oh, okay. In the case of Natividad, now the matter
yes,
here.
can you enlighten us about that case?
Okay. In the case of Natividad, the problem here naman is that Natividad induced his client to buy a certain piece of land, to which he vowed that that land cost so much. But upon the registration of the land, the petitioner here, Natividad, the complainant here, found out that the land registered was different from the land shown by his attorney, Attorney Solidum. And that he was, furthermore, Attorney Solidum with one person named Yulo asked for a loan, to which Attorney Solidum guaranteed the loan, even though that loan has an exorbitant amount of interest rate, to which he promised Natividad that he will pay. In this case, Attorney Solidum failed to pay that loan and claims that it was exorbitant and unconscionable, to which it was illegal, an illegal interest. So the issues here is that first, Attorney Solidum vowed that the land was cost much more than what was advertised. And once the land was registered, the complainant found out that the land was cheaper. It was actually cheaper, and that upon demand of the loan made to Attorney Solidum, he failed to pay that loan. So Attorney Solidum violated a few provisions of the professional of the PRC. So first is Rule 1.01. Once again, Rule 1.01. which states that a lawyer shall not engage in unlawful, dishonest, immoral, or deceitful conduct. So here, the respondent agreed to pay a high interest rate on his loan to the complainants, and he even drafted a MOA. Yet he failed to pay those loans, and then that he also established that the respondent also mortgaged a property, and he prescribed 1 million pesos, but it was sold to another person. So it was clear here that he has deceived his clients, and that act of deceitfulness is in violation of Rule 1.01. Furthermore, he violated Canon 16 and Rule 16.01, to which, can anyone tell me what were the contents of those canons?
Can you repeat the canons that was violated?
Canon 16.
Canon 16 point.
Canon 16 and Rule 16.01.
Okay. So Canon 16, it states that a lawyer shall hold in trust the monies and properties of his clients that come into his profession. And also in Canon 6.1, it states that the lawyer must or shall account for the money and the property of his client without any deceitful or without any immoral act or deceitful act.
Okay, so all in all, Attorney Solidum violated Rule 1.01, Canon 16, and Rules 16.01 of the Code of Professional Conduct. And that would be all. So in the next case, Attorney Mendoza, I would just like to ask you one more time. So I believe we have 3 minutes left, so I will be brief. So what if an attorney has multiple wives?
So, in the case of Garrido versus the Garrido, what happened here was Attorney Garrido engaged in multiple marriages. So the court held here that they found him guilty of gross conduct. They held that in admission to the practice of law is a component of the administration of justice and is a matter of public interest because it involves public service to the public. So the admission qualifications are qualifications for the continued enjoyment of the privilege to practice law. So to continue to practice law, you should possess a good moral character because it is a condition precedent is a continuing requirement to warrant admission to the to such privilege. So the court held that attorney attorney Garrido must be they must prove by clear and convincing evidence that he did not commit immoral conduct. So an immoral conduct involves acts that are willful, flagrant, or shameless, and that show a moral indifference to the opinion of the upright and respectable members of the community. An immoral conduct is so gross when it is corrupt as to constitute a criminal act or unprincipled as to reprehensible to a high degree or when committed under such scandalous or revolting circumstances. So in this case, Attorney Garrido did not possess the good moral character required of a lawyer at the time of the admission to the bar, even though he argued that he married before he entered, he passed the bar. So as a lawyer, he violated the lawyer's oath, Canon 1 of the Code of Professional Responsibility. Can you recite the Canon 1 of the Code of Professional Responsibility, please?
Canon 1 states that a lawyer shall, Rule 1.01 states that a lawyer shall not engage in unlawful, dishonest, immoral, or deceitful conduct.
So these canons were commonly required to him to obey because these are the laws of the land. So the court has often reminded that the members of the bar to live up to the standards and norms expected of the legal profession by upholding these ideals and principles embodied in the Code of Professional Responsibility and the Constitution. So lawyers are bound to maintain not only a high standard of legal proficiency but also of morality, including honesty, integrity, and fair dealing. So lawyers are expected to be at all time watchful of the public and the community. That is all.
Okay, thank you. So I believe we have one last question.
So, Ms. Osnal, so what happens to a lawyer found guilty of soliciting money to bribe a judge?
Okay. So in that case, the lawyer, like a case decided by the Supreme Court, he will be disbarred because he violated the lawyer's oath and also the Rule 1.1 that a lawyer shall not engage in any unlawful, dishonest, immoral, or deceitful conduct. And also, Attorney Reneses here, in that said case, was committed a grave offense, for he extracted money from his client for a purpose that is both false and fraudulent. And also beyond this, he maligned the judge and the judiciary by giving the impression that the court cases are won not on the merits but through deceitful means. Kasi nga, he bribed his client that he will win the case if he will add for his professional fees.
Okay, thank you. So that would conclude our discussion.
So to summarize, the canons violated in the case of De Leon versus Pedriana is Rule 101 and 7.03, which the court held that Pedriana should be suspended for 2 years. So in Lingan versus Baliga, he violated Rule 1.01 and the lawyer's oath, which concluded in 1 year suspension. In Flores and versus Attorney Jovencio, disbarment is the conclusion. And in Navarro and Attorney Presbiterio, he violated Rule 101, 1.01, 16, 16.01, and 16, which concluded in disbarment. In the case of Garrido versus Garrido, he violated Canon 1, Lawyer's Oath, Canon 1.01, Rule 7.03, which caused him disbarment. And in Bueno versus Reneses, he violated Rule 1.017 and 7.0, which concluded in disbarment. That is all.